Hey YouTube, Electric Adventures here in a side episode to my Let's Make a Retro Game series, in that the tool that I talk about in one of the earlier episodes, which is my MSX Coleco Sprite and Tile editor, has gone through, over the last 3 years, quite a few substantial updates. Plus I've never really done a video on how to actually use it. So I thought I'd record this video as a little add-on to the series, to bring people up to date with how the Sprite editor is now, and then I can, if I do make more changes to it, I can do another update video later. I did a lot of changes to it this past Christmas, based on suggestions that people gave me, and it does have a lot more features than it did when it started. Now, one thing that I have changed is the way that it is installed. So if you installed it a couple of years ago, I was using a thing called a Click Once installer, which allowed it to detect when there was a new version and allow you to download updates. But it did require that you were connected to the internet. I have now completely replaced that with a proper MSI installer. So if you do have an old version of the Sprite and Tile editor installed, it's best to uninstall that. So in your settings and apps, just go and uninstall it completely, and then go to the Electric Adventures website, which funnily enough is remembered on my computer. Now of course, while you're at the website, make sure you check out my two books, the Spectravideo and MSX Complete User Guide and Programming Games for the ColecoVision and Adam. I am working on an MSX version of this at the moment, and there will be an advanced, a part 2 for both of those. Let's Make a Retro Game tells you a little bit about the series we're talking about. That's all where all the support files are stored if you're interested. A few of my titles, but here we are. Here's the main MSX Coleco Sprite and Tile editor. So if you click on the more details here, this is always where you download the latest version. So always at this home page, it'll link to it, and that resolves to the same URL that's in the update. I've updated those in the articles and everything as well. So if I click that, that'll download another copy. I've already done that, and I've already installed it. When you install it, I'll just run it. No, I don't want to actually. No, I don't want to do that because this is the second time I'm recording this, and every time I do it where it needs elevated user installation, it interrupts my recording. So run that. It's a really quick installation. You end up with an icon on your desktop, and you can simply run the program. So this is the Sprite and Tile editor. It is split up into 3 sections. You have sprites, character sets, and screen layouts. So sprites are the hardware sprites that sit over the top of the background layer on a TMS 99XX. Doesn't matter which model afterwards. They're all pretty much the same. They just have more screen modes. And the sprite editor is focused on creating 16 by 16 sprites, and in 1 or 2 colors. Now, the sprites on the system can only be in 1 colour, but if you put 2 sprites over each other, it allows you to make them multicoloured. So if we were to, do a bit of drawing here, all you do is you just start drawing. Very easy, and if you want to uncolour one, you just right click. So just so we do that, that's a simple little spaceship shape there. And that's single colour at the moment, and we're using black. The colours you use here are just for indicative for the moment. So we'll change that one to blue. If you want to change it to 2 colour, and green will probably look a bit horrible, so let's make that a light blue colour. And now the selected colour is the one with the little dots around it. So since we've just added that and selected that, it's got it selected already, so we can fill that in. There is no fill command, but there we go. We have a little spaceship. And let's do that. Give it a little bit of a cockpit. Bit of an engine section there. There we go. And there's our nice little spaceship ready to go. It actually gives you the code here, so you could quite simply just copy this and paste it into your program. That's one way of using it. You can also paste into here into the same, using the same format, and press the import button, and it'll import it in as a sprite as well. But you can also save it as an assembly or C file. We'll get into that more later. What I'll do, we'll make a few more sprites first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to add a new sprite, and I'm going to paste it. So see how we've got two sprites that are exactly the same at the moment. We haven't given them specific names, it's naming them as we go. And then we want this one pointing the opposite way. So I'm going to flip mirror it vertically. Very nice. Alright, we'll add another sprite. We'll paste in our original, and this time we want one pointing to the right. So we're going to rotate it that way. So we're going to go 90 degrees that way. Add another sprite. And we want to go the other way. So it does a pretty good job of those. If you wanted to, you could also... now this has varying degrees of success because we are talking about a very small number of pixels here. We can rotate 45 degrees. That doesn't do a too bad job, but it could do with a little bit of tidying up. So all you do is you just go and edit it a bit afterwards. Probably something like that. Get rid of that one. That's not looking too bad. And we can keep on going and adding more shapes. I'll just oh, and it's ended up a little bit down. You can use these controls to move it around in the frame, so it's more centered around the middle. I might copy that one because we've tidied that up. Add it. We'll paste again. And then we'll mirror that way. So now that's going down there. We'll add another sprite. We'll paste in, and this time we will mirror this way. Now you do that with that one. We'll add another sprite. We'll paste. We'll mirror that way first, then that way. And so there we go. We've got most of our directions. Now what you can also do is you can go and say, well, this is the ship. And make that one ship as well. That one ship. And that one ship. So we've just done those four. And you come over here and you select ship as the animation, and it will go through that animation at the speed you select, which is really handy. Now to illustrate that a little more, we will go down here and we'll make a new sprite. We will make a very primitive robot. Okay, this is to illustrate the animation a little bit more, so I'm going to copy him and add another one, and then I'm going to change him slightly. So by the way, right clicking erases the current one, so his arms are going to flip up, and what I'll do, we'll make that change as well, and we'll make his legs go out like that. Let's see what happens. So come here and we'll call this robot. I'll make this one robot. Come here, select robot. And we have a dancing robot. So, this sprite animation is quite simple. You can simply use the cut and paste here. Now let's look at exporting options before we move on to the other type of thing. So come in here and options. Now at the moment we're looking at assembler, and here's an example of what it looks like. You can do the C output, and that is set up ready to go for most C compilers. Back to assembler though, we can make it a straight hex block. So that's just a raw dump of hex. We can use hexadecimal notation, decimal, which is the default, or even binary, which is useful for some compilers. You can also change what is displayed in the front. The leading character, in this case assembler, is a percentage sign, and the number of values on a line, and any trailing characters, so something you want on the end of the line. So it's quite easy to define this to go out to whatever assembler you want. I know my good friend Klaus uses this to make sprites for his Intellivision games. Now, when we get to the other things, I haven't added compression for the sprites yet, because you generally have one bank of sprites, so it is something I'm going to add. But you can compress the tile sets and you can compress the screen layouts. I'll explain what they are more in a little bit. And we have 4 compression methods at the moment: Pleta, RLE, Dan1 and Dan3. RLE is the simplest one. It does quite a decent job. That's run length encoding. It also decompresses very fast in a very small amount of code, so it doesn't take up many cycles. Pleta compresses very well indeed, but it does require a lot more processing on the computer to decompress it. Dan1 and Dan3 were actually written by Amy Purple, who has been in the Coleco scene for quite a few years, and it's I believe it's an LZ based encryption, and it's not too bad. It probably doesn't compress as much as Pleta, but it will do a better job than RLE. Obviously, for the decompression software for those, you need specific bits of code. Just search for them. I'll probably do, in my second book, I'm going to be covering compression in more details, but that's a fair way off. Now, for the compression to work, you have to tick these boxes as well, so it knows to compress them. I'm not going to change any of these settings at the moment. I'm just showing them. So if I come into here, go File, Save, I'm just going to save it. And I'll just put example here. So that it stores in a special file called an SBR file, which is what this program likes, and it's just an XML file, so you can hand edit it. Just obviously don't mess it up too much, otherwise it won't load. You can also go Save As and save as an assembly file to do example. So that's saved all of those sprite shapes to an assembly file. Right, so here's the file, and it quite simply puts labels in for the names you put in and the 2 sprite patterns that define those ones, so it puts them in order for you. At the moment they're all called Sprite 1, which is very bad, so this is not going to compile. We need to go and change some of those. And there's currently no tile set. It's all blank, as you can see, and then the colour. It always has a default one of those in the file. So we'll reduce that down for when we play later. So that's that's sprites. Okay. So I said really to make this thing, we should come in here and we should make that. We should give these all separate names. Okay, so I've done those ones. This is just to demonstrate. I'll do a save as again. Obviously we're overwriting. If we go back to our source file, I saved it the wrong name. Hang on. Yes, it's better. come back over here, and you'll now see that the labels have changed immediately. And this is the thing, so you can make all your changes in here and just include that assembly file in your main project. And then all your sprites and your tiles and screen layouts will just be in that file. You can edit them in this tool, save them, change them, and not have to edit your source code. Right, so let's go over to character sets. Right, so character sets can contain up to 256 character patterns. And the individual 8x8 tiles, you do edit them in a 16x16 grid here, but you are editing individual characters. At the moment, this little indicator here shows you which characters we're editing. We're editing 0, 1, 2, and 3. So over here, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And to change them, you simply click on the tiles you want in order. There is a limit to this. If I want to do that same thing but a different order, it doesn't know I'm clicking on a different one here, so it gets confused. So you're best just selecting another 4 and then going back here, selecting them in a different order. Okay, I'll just go back and select our first 4. Now obviously there's nothing here, but the first thing you should do is get from table, which gets what's in the table into our editor here. Normally we'd leave the first character blank, and then maybe we would draw here a nice 0 character for our 0. I'm leaving a space down the bottom and a space on the left. You can line your characters up however you want, and then obviously this one, it would be nice if we had a 1. Very simple character set. Do some adjustments there. Oops, can't click to save myself. Right, so we've got some numbers there. Now these are all very, at the moment they're black foreground, transparent background. That's what these two things are. So what we can do is we can come in here and change the colours. And I'm going to specifically select something, make it a bit more colourful. Now I could have done this to any one of these, and at the moment it's not really making much difference. Now we also do need to set a background colour, so I'm going to make it black background, which is what a lot of the games that I write use for good contrast. But obviously you can mix things, you can have also, every individual tile can have different colours for each one of these rows. So that's all well and good. So that's the first character done. What I can do, I can copy that, and then I can come to this one and paste. And instead of pasting everything, I can just paste the colour data. And I can do the same here, and it'll remember your last selection. And there we go, got quite colourful numbers. Now before we get carried away and go, alright, let's move on to the next characters, you see they're not in the table yet. We need to send it to the table. And then you would want to edit another 4. And we probably want to paste in our colour data. And then we could add some more characters. This is probably not the best character set in the world, but something like this. Oops. And a 6. Yeah, I think the rest of the characters in might look better. and send that to the table. So there we go. There's a few numbers and things like that. Now, of course, this is all just numbers, so let's just go down here, get from table, and we can of course draw whatever we want in here. We can make all sorts of tiles. I'm going to paste the same colour in for the moment. And I said, just putting some random useful shapes in, so I can illustrate our drawing tool in a minute. Now we don't have to have the same colour for each one, so this one we could utilise. So good thing about the MSX palette, if you use it correctly, you can get some quite nice looking effects with the you know, the colour gradients that you have. Right, send to table. Alright, I'll save that before we go on too much further. So this is how you define a character set. Now, screen layouts. So this is how the tiles are laid out on the screen. Now, at the moment we've only got one tile set in. To completely fill a screen with distinctive characters, you actually need to use 3 tile sets. Let's put a sample in here. This is our first tile set, so we can quite simply go and grab that, and then we can start painting tiles. We can grab that. Maybe that's where you want the score to go eventually. So as you can see, it's very easy to start. Oops, there's no undo, so once again, another thing I might add at some stage is have it undo stacks or undo the current action if you go and make a mistake like I just did. We probably should have done some sort of ladder character. And I am doing these in large blocks. So at the moment we're using the same character set for all 3 sections, which is actually what I commonly do unless I really need it. I don't have more than one tile set. It actually saves a lot of room. So you can slowly build up, you know, a background like that. Now you do have a couple of things here. We can shuffle it down, shuffle it up. Shuffling it down is a good way of painting it all black. Once again, I need fill options. Also notice when I hover, it shows you down there the tile that is in that position and the tile number. You can display grid lines over it. You can also import from the clipboard, which is and it's importing the assembly data that's pasted out, not an actual graphic. Alright, also one thing I forgot in the character set. In a character set you can import a character set from from a picture that is in the clipboard. I'll just get one. Right, so I've just got a screen level from Kangaroo here. I was using paint. Select all, copy, just close that. Now if we come back to here, you can see exactly what's going to happen with that one, and we could go, what you do is you put it in a particular position and you import from clipboard, and it'll start from the character you've got clicked on and it'll try and fit as much of this in as it can. And try and match the colours. It's not the best way of importing it, it does work. Some of the new ones I've done in screen layouts are better, and it actually overwrites your screen layout with what you pasted in ColecoVision and Adam. It really doesn't do that good a job. The better way to do it is go into the full screen editor and import an image this way. Didn't do a measurably bigger job. But anyway, when you're in the screen editor, anything you draw in here, so if we select red, will actually create new tiles. I've sort of messed up by not having a clear set of things. So if I do add a new one, we make it tile set. Instead of tile set 1, we'll go and add 2 new tile sets. Go into our screen layouts and make this one use distinctive tile sets for each of the sections in it. Go into the full screen editor, import an image, I'm just interested to see what the colour map's not working. Oh, there we go, it is there. So this picture is actually in far too many colours, and that's why it's having trouble. So bear with me for a second and I will fix that. Right, so I'm just using an old version of PaintShop Pro here, and what you really need to do is decrease the colours down to 16 colours if you can. Okay, now once you've done that, copy the image, come into here, go import image, and now your 16 colours will have a much better chance of being matched properly. And then if we press the import button, it actually doesn't do a too bad job. And you can display the grid lines in here too. Now as you move the cursor over here, see it's got a magnified section over the right, which shows you exactly which pixel you're changing. You can select your colour, and so when it's importing, I'll try and optimize the tiles as best it can. Let's make that blue, and we can go and change that. Now it's obeying the rules of 2 colours in any one line, so there we go, and obviously that tile was actually reused up there as well. And it has the different tile sets, so that's one way of doing images. So what I'll do is I'll load up another project now. I'll just save our muck around project now. And I'll save it as assembly. Oops. And we'll go back to edit over here. And it's a lot bigger now, but you can see the patterns are filled out, and there are several of them, and they keep on going. So this is all in raw uncompressed format, so these would take up a fair bit of space. So if I go into the options and I compress both of those and just use RLE, right, we come back in. Obviously sprites aren't any different, and there's our tile set. So the whole tile set, it's got the length here, 2, 3, 4, 6. 2, 6, 4, 8 for the colour, and the other one's 972. So RLO can get good things, depends on what the screens are made up of. Now if I come in here and I change options to Pletter, save again as assembly, excuse me, come back here, get past our sprites, you can see the Pletter length is a lot smaller, and that's going to make a big difference when you're trying to squeeze things in. See, especially that was like 2600 before. It's only 505, so it can really make a difference. And you get down the end and we'll have actual screen layouts as well. So instead of 768 bytes, we've got 417 there, 361, and only 288 there. So it can really make a big difference if you start using compression. Alright, so next we'll load and it remembers the last project you've opened. So this is my project I've been mucking around, Kangaroo. I only did this because, well, I'm interested in doing the game Kangaroo at some stage, but I wanted to test out the features of my editor. So I've got a few sprites in here. Haven't really done all of Mama Kangaroo yet, it's still a work in progress, but I do have the monkey looking pretty good, and monkey climbing, and the Joey, and they're not looking too bad, especially when you put them on backgrounds and things. There's the apple. And what you do when you're in the game, you make this red part as a low sprite number and the green part as a high sprite number, so it doesn't matter if the green stick disappears if you get a sprite flicker, but at least your main thing will show. And then if you use it on a like an F18, all of the sprites will show, and you won't have flicker problems. So it's just a way of using things slightly differently. And the way I write my games is I write the sprites on one interrupt from 0 to 31, and the next one I do 31 to 0. So you actually pretty much get 8 sprites per line instead of 4, and 30 frames a second, which most people are not going to notice. Now into our character sets, I only have the one character set here. As you can see, I've got all my letters and numbers up the front, and then I get straight into the tiles that I'm using. I've designed them individually. And then I even have the Kangaroo title in there as well, and then I've slowly added more shapes as I've gone through, and I've still got room. Then we're going to have a look at the screen layouts. So I have the title page, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, all using the one tile set table and those 4 different things. And it's rare, I mean, uncompressed, the whole thing is only taking up 12k of ROM. Compressed would probably halve that easily. So you can see how you can, very easily save a lot of space when you use a tool like this. And you can make it quite colourful. Now some of these static objects may be replaced with sprites and things like that later. And I will keep on improving this tool. If you have any suggestions, please down below, or send me a message. More than happy to add them. The program is completely free. You do not have to pay any money for it. Because of the way I have to electronically sign it, it does cost me money every year. So if people are that way inclined, I do have a Patreon account, and there is a donate button in here as well. So I am very grateful for anybody who has donated to me in the past for keeping this tool going. Yeah, it would be appreciated if people could contribute to the cost of the certificates, because otherwise you get problems installing it on some machines, and even though it is fully signed, the installation is fully signed, you still may get up a warning when you install it on Windows 10 for the first time. If you have those sort of issues, just let me know, and you can't work it out yourself, I can help talk you through it. I'm thinking of doing a set of screenshots to show people that on the website as a bit of support. So that's it for this video. That is an update on the MSX and Coleco Sprite and Tile editor as used in my series and used personally by myself for quite a few projects. It can save you a lot of time, and instead of having to individually cut and paste the graphics into your assembly code, you just keep them all in one file, edit it in here, save over the top all the time, and include that file in your project, and that way you're separating your graphics away from your source code. And it makes it very easy to just edit in here and save. But of course, make sure you use some sort of source control, so if you make any mistakes, you can always go back. Now, things I would like to add, obviously there are a couple of bugs. There probably needs to be a bit of an undo function at some stage, but I'll look at adding those over time. And I am going to put a sound editor in here, so you can put your sound effects, and then later on I'll do a music editor, so a bit of a mini tracker. But they are definitely a work in progress. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this update video on my MSX and Coleco Sprite and Tile editor. I'm Electric Adventures, thanks to all my subscribers, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.